Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and we have something absolutely awesome to take a look at today. Something that I have been so hyped for, and probably am even more hyped now after actually seeing one in person. This is one of the Marco Makes basic Jurassic Park 30th anniversary figures. We've got ourselves the Carnotaurus. Now, this was actually sent to me by Marco recently when I had acquired the Red Rex through him and Sora. They were kind enough to actually send me a few extras because, especially with this one, they know I love Carnotaurus. So they actually sent this one over to me, and I now have the pleasure of adding this Carnotaurus to my collection, which I couldn't be more excited about. I love Carnotaurus, I love Marco Makes, and the two combined equal one amazing figure, and that is definitely the case. This is actually my second full-bodied version of a Carnotaurus from Marco, and my third Carnotaurus as a whole, because I also have the Kingdom Collection bust in my collection. But this thing is absolutely phenomenal here in person. Like, wow, is that ever a perfect interpretation of a Jurassic World Carnotaurus. And, you know, we've had quite a few attempts so far, whether it's the Mattel line or the Prime 1 version or the Nanmu version. They have all been pretty decent, but I don't feel like anybody's really nailed the appearance of the Carnotaurus until right now, because this looks exactly, to me, like the Carnotaurus does in Jurassic World Dominion as far as the sculpt and everything goes. Every time I look at one of these other Carnotaurus, there's always just a little bit off about them. There's just something that I can't even put my finger on that looks a little off, but this one looks picture perfect. So, as always, Marco really does a great job of paying attention to screen accuracy and hammering out the most accurate versions of the dinosaurs that you would like to see. As far as the packaging goes as well, look at how gorgeous this is. You can see Caution Dinosaurs Ahead down here on the lower part right here. You also have the Marco Makes logo. You've got some slash marks over here. And then a beautiful backdrop there with the Jurassic Park gates, and then again the JP 30th anniversary over top there, running along the top of the gates. And if we actually remove our Carnotaurus for just a moment, we place him over there, but you can see the inside of the packaging actually has footprints in there as well, which is great because, again, that's where your dinosaur stands. So absolutely genius as far as Marco goes, and the box that comes with these 30th anniversary basic Jurassic figures that he is creating. Here on the underside, you again have Marco Makes and JP 30th anniversary. And then if we actually turn it around and take a look here at the back, you can see we've got like a paddock fence right there. Again, the JP 30th anniversary, and then some information on these figures themselves right there, as well as more information on Marco. And also the fact that Alex Kendrick had something to do with this, as he is the one responsible for printing and cleaning the models. So a huge thank you goes to Marco and Alex Kendrick, as always, supplying us with dream collectibles right here. And then if we actually take that, put that back a little bit, and we take a look at this little kind of booklet that's included, you can see again pretty much the same thing as far as those gates right there with the JP 30th anniversary over top. Bring a lost world home. Absolutely love that. And then when we go ahead and open this up, you can get kind of a really cool sort of a checklist of all of the dinosaurs that are included in this basic line from Marco Makes. And look at how many there are. There are just so many species that Marco has pumped out for this line, again, to celebrate the fact that Jurassic Park is now 30 years old. And what I see here absolutely is some of the best Jurassic Park and Jurassic World figures I've ever seen. Even if they don't sport articulation or any kind of like crazy dramatic positioning or anything, they look incredible. And you can also see up here on the top some really cool images of some Jurassic Park dinosaurs. Again, as we've got Raptors, Dilophosaurus, actually everything here is basically from Jurassic Park. So you can see all of the species right there moving along the top of the, booklet right here, and all of the names, of course, of the species down here. And then if we turn it around, you can again see some more really nice images a little bit closer, showing off all of the painted versions. And then you can also see that we've got more information over here. And then if you go down here, you can actually also see that if you scan the QR code here with your smartphone camera, you can be directly linked to all of the Marco Makes social media outlets. So if you would like to do that, you can just go ahead, scan that, and go check that out right now. And man, that is absolutely awesome to have this booklet included, just getting me even more excited for all of these amazing figures that are coming from Marco for the 30th anniversary. And then back to our Carnotaurus itself, you can see it looks gorgeous. Like, Man, is that ever one awesome Carnotaurus. And mine is painted by Marco. You can purchase these painted or unpainted. That's up to you, however you would like to go about getting them. Whether you want them painted or unpainted, that's, again, your decision. Obviously, unpainted is going to be a little bit cheaper, but I personally do recommend, if you're not good at painting, I really recommend the painted versions, because look at how beautiful that paint job is on that Carnotaurus. Man, is that ever absolutely gorgeous. So to show that off to you guys, we're going to go ahead and jump straight to a closer look at this absolute work of art right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Carnotaurus, you can again straight away see how incredibly screen accurate it looks like. It looks like it absolutely just walked straight off of the screen from Jurassic World, more specifically actually Fallen Kingdom, and straight here into my review station. Like, that is perfect as far as the general appearance goes. But you can also see that there's some really nice looking skin texture, nice scale detail. We've got the nostrils highlighted right there, and Marco has done an incredible job as far as applying all sorts of variation of color to this. There is just tons and tons and tons of extremely nice looking paintwork and paint application to this, so much so that I honestly couldn't even attempt to comment on each and every different tone of color I see. There's just way too much, making this have an extremely realistic and lifelike appearance. He has done a great job of, highlighting scale, detail, and stuff like that with some nice dry brushing we can see right there in the snout. You can also see that the mouth is, of course, sculpted in a closed position. The teeth are painted really quite nicely, and he's even added a gloss coat there, kind of running along, well, if my camera would stop losing focus, kind of running along the jawline there. You can see a gloss coat giving it that kind of saliva-like look. You can also see a gloss coat shining there in the nose and the nostrils, which is nice to see. On top of that, we've got a really nicely painted eye with a yellow and a black pupil. It actually looks like there might be two different tones of color there for the eye and then the black pupil. And again, a nice gloss coat on the eyes on top of everything. And then as you lead up here to the top of the head of the Carnotaurus, you also have some more really nice looking bumpy scale detail up here. Again, exactly as you would expect to see. And you can also see the horns are sculpted out quite nicely. He's also dry brushed those over very nicely with a lighter tone to highlight all the detail and show off how incredible that sculpt work really is, as well as, again, Marco's fantastic paintwork. As we begin to move down the course of the Carnotaurus, you, as per usual, start to see those kind of osteoderms and stuff picking up here, running along the course of the neck, those rows of kind of like almost ridge-like osteoderms on this one that we often see portrayed on Carnotaurus. As we move down here to the lower part of the neck, you can see some skin wrinkles and skin folds and stuff leading down here into the throat. Super smooth transition of color into the lighter tones of the underside of the underbelly. And you can also see, again, numerous variations of colors here, as we have like reddish tones, brownish tones, just all kinds of color here moving down the course of the neck of the Carnotaurus. As we move down a little bit further, you can see the arms look great. They're held nice and naturally into the body right there. You can also see that we have a lighter tone for the arms. You've got some nice creasing there as the arm reaches the body, again, just to show off the positioning a little bit better. We have some more really nice looking skin texture and skin detail here in the stomach region. Boy, my camera's having a hard time dealing with this figure today. You can also see a little bit of girth right there in the stomach, so we know our Carnotaurus is definitely well fed, which is a plus. And again, lots of beautiful paintwork right here in the stomach region, like just so many different tones of color, not just, of course, in the stomach region, but through the entire figure. Like, it is honestly mind-blowing to look at. And then, of course, as you lead up here toward the top, you can kind of make out the spinal column, and you can see that kind of armored sort of a look here for the Carnotaurus moving along the upper part of the dinosaur. Marco has applied kind of a nice little gloss coat, kind of like a satin shine to the figure as well, which really helps it to stand out. And then on top of that, you can see as we lead back here, you've got the hip bone protruding from the skin a little bit. Very nice looking muscle definition moving down the course of the thigh. You've got the knee there in the front of the leg. And again, look at how he's painted this. All of those like really light tones of color kind of creeping through the skin texture. Man, that looks awesome. As you lead down, you've got a really nice looking, very big bulging calf muscle, and then really nice looking paintwork here as you move down into the feet. I love how he's highlighted all of those scales, showing that detail off beautifully. And then as you look at it here from the front, you can see that the feet look great. The foot sculpts look awesome. We have some nice scoots running down the course of the toes, nice painted nails with a black and a nice glossy black at that. You can see the dew claws are painted over there as well, and definitely really nice looking. You can see a slight tilt to the feet, like they're not perfectly straightforward as our Carnotaurus just has an ever so slight tilt to the ankle, more so on this one than this one, which looks really cool, just adding in a little bit of extra life to our Carnotaurus. And then as you lead back up here, you can see more skin wrinkles and stuff right here behind the thigh. As we lead out, you have more really nice looking skin texture, more of those bumps moving along the upper part of the Carnotaurus, and man, it looks so good. He obviously has applied a really nice dark wash to highlight the detail in perfect fashion as well. And as you lead out, you can see the tail's mostly straightforward, but there is a very slight curve to it as well, which looks really cool. Not much of a curve left or right, but you can see as you move out, it does curve up slightly, then back down, and then up toward the tip. And of course, you're not going to see too much difference over here on the opposing side because the dinosaur, for the most part, is in pretty much a neutral position, as most of these basic figures are, hence the name. But man, does it ever look so good. Like, that is just the most amazing Jurassic World Carnotaurus figure that I've ever seen. And I honestly can't even begin to express how happy I am to have a Carnotaurus figure here that not only was sculpted by Marco, is a full-bodied version, but is also painted by Marco. Because again, I'm a massive fan of his work, and man, this thing is absolutely incredible. You can see as you move through the entire thing, very consistent paintwork to what we had seen on the initial side. Just an overall beast of a Carnotaurus here from Marco. One thing to note, though, that you actually see here on mine is there's a hole in the foot, whereas they would actually normally have a hole in the stomach. Marco did mention that to me, because this one's actually kind of a prototype of his. You can also see the Marco Makes logo on the underside of the foot if my camera would focus on it. But this one's technically a prototype, as this is one, I think maybe was the one that was actually used for the images that he had taken to promote their release. And the little hole on the foot there actually is moved to the stomach for the final release. So that's the only real big difference, I would say, on this one compared to what you would get if you decided to purchase your own Carnotaurus from Marco Makes. And I can't even begin to tell you just how much I recommend you doing that, because you'll absolutely love this Carnotaurus. As far as the size goes for our Carnotaurus, for a length from the snout to the tail, you're looking at roughly around 10 inches or about 25 and a half. I'd say about 25 and a half centimeters. And then for a height, the highest point is obviously going to be the horn there of the Carno. You're looking at just shy of about 4¼ inches, or about 10.5 centimeters, maybe a little bit over. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our Marco Makes basic Carnotaurus. And you can see again, it does sport a pretty good size. It's like a strong medium size range as far as figures like this go, and I absolutely love it. They're honestly bigger than I expected them to be, which is a pretty big plus, because I do like some size with my figures at times, but at the same time, like, it's really cool to have one in this size range that looks so good, because it's not something that's going to be hard to fit into my collection, especially when I have so many figures. Every once in a while, to get a figure that's more reasonably sized is never a bad thing. Then here is a size comparison next to a Mattel Velociraptor and Mattel Dilophosaurus here. You can see kind of crowding our Carnotaurus, giving you an idea of the size. Again, definitely bigger than both of these figures. Then we've got another comparison here with the Safari LTDU Tyrannus, the Schleich Diabloceratops, and the Collect A Deluxe Dimetrodon, just to give you another idea of a size as far as just like super random comparisons that I've been using quite a bit lately, or these three. Then here is a comparison next to the older version of the Nanmu Carnotaurus. So if you actually have that figure, you can really see they're very similar in size, like not far off at all. And they actually look super, super cool together. Definitely a really neat visual of this Carnotaurus standing with that other one. Similar coloration, of course. I think Marco's paint job's a bit better than what we see on the Nanmu version. But they definitely are a very similar size as a whole. So if you do have the older Nanmu Carnotaurus, you can see they are pretty similar. I think the Nanmu version's a little bit longer. Yeah, you could definitely see, oh, if I move my hand you can. You can see if we put them snout to snout, basically, that the Nanmu version is slightly longer, but not far off, honestly. Very similar in size. Then if you happen to have purchased the newer release of the Nanmu Carnotaurus, you can see again the newer version of the Carno ended up being way larger than their older one from Nanmu, and you can see that the Marco Makes version of the Carnotaurus is definitely a bit smaller than our Nanmu version, but you can really see, looking at these two together, again, how similar they look, but at the same time, how much more screen accurate Marco's head sculpt is. And in fact, the entire body just generally is more screen accurate on the Marco version than what I see on the Nanmu version. I didn't even realize it initially when looking at the Nanmu version during the review. You know, they still look fantastic. I absolutely love those figures, but I didn't realize how far off they actually looked when it comes to screen accuracy until actually now looking at it next to the Marco Makes version. Definitely interesting to see these two together. And then for one final Carnotaurus comparison, we have the Papo Carnotaurus next to the Marco Makes version, and you can see the Papo version is quite a bit smaller, showing you that, again, the Marco version does have some pretty decent size to it. Again, definitely larger than I was expecting it to be, and yet again, I would definitely say the Marco version is way nicer than the Papo version. The Papo version is definitely cool, but Marco's is just drop-dead gorgeous. So this brand new Marco Makes basic Carnotaurus for the Jurassic Park 30th anniversary is fantastic. Like, I can't even tell you how fantastic and how much I love this thing. The sculpt, again, is as screen accurate as it honestly gets. From my memory and from all the reference material that I've seen of the Carnotaurus from Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and of course Dominion, but they have a different coloration for the Dominion version and a chipped horn. But when it comes to the appearance of the Carnotaurus from Fallen Kingdom, this is so spot on, it is ridiculous. Like I said earlier, it really feels like it legitimately crawled out of the film and is now just kind of standing here on my table, obviously at a much smaller size. The sculpt is perfect. The fine detail is fantastic. Really high quality as far as the 3D print goes. Really, really impressive looking detail throughout. And that's, of course, a combination of Marco's incredible sculpting skills and Alex Kendrick's fantastic job that he did when it comes to printing it out and cleaning it up. It looks great here in person. On top of that, Marco's paint job is fantastic. It just looks so lifelike, so realistic. There's so many varying tones of color included on this, which is exactly what you would want to see if it were kind of recreating a real animal. You would definitely want to see slight variation of color because it's almost always something that you do see, and you definitely see that through the course of the entire figure. There is just so much paintwork, so much coloration on this. It is mind-blowing, and I love the reddish tones and stuff that have been really nice and subtly added to it. It looks so good as far as the coloration goes, and is probably my new favorite as far as Marco Makes painted figures that I have in my collection. Not just because, you know, it's a Carnotaurus. I'm a little bit partial, a little bit biased when it comes to Carnotaurus, but also just because it's super, super impressive how good his paint job is. I also love the size. I love the pose, even though it's, again, basic. They're kind of neutral poses. I think it looks fantastic. It kind of reminds me of like concept art for the Jurassic line, or maybe like a maquette or something that they were going to use, and it's just kind of standing in that neutral position. I really love that as well. So again, if you are interested in picking these up, you can purchase them unpainted or painted. It's really up to you. This is exactly what the painted version of the Carnotaurus would look like if you purchased one for yourself from Marco Makes. And then, of course, you could purchase this unpainted, which would be a little bit less money, a little bit cheaper, and then you can paint it up yourself. But I highly recommend the painted version, and I'm definitely going to be snagging some more painted Marco Makes basic Jurassic Park figures in the near future. So if you are interested, I will include links in the description to all of Marco's social media accounts where you can follow him on YouTube. You can, of course, follow his Etsy shop. You can follow him on Instagram and on Facebook, all of those fun places that Marco roams. You can find all of those links in the description, and make sure you go check those out, follow him, and grab yourself some of these Jurassic Park 30th anniversary basic figures, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.